Pillar Institute. This is Becky Kiser recording this video from my home in Ethiopia where I live, and I'd like to tell you just a little bit about what I'm doing here, but first I have to tell you you're probably going to hear some sounds. One is we have building always going on around us, traffic always going on around us, and also right now the church is singing. We're in a period of our longest fasting time for Orthodox Christians. That means that for about 60 days, many people don't eat anything until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and when they do eat, it has no animal products at all. Finally, on Easter, a week after our Easter in USA, we begin eating meat, eggs, and animal products. Now by we, I don't mean me, who happens to be a vegetarian. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing here, what has developed, some of the things that I've overcome, and a little bit about what life is like here. First, I came as a tourist in December 2003. I had followed the path of the early Christians through Turkey, Israel, and then I was interested to find what could very likely be the Ark of the Covenant, resting in Aksum, Ethiopia, which is in the northern part of our country. However, while I was here, I made what may seem like a mistake, maybe it's not a mistake, of not having every vaccination, and I ended up with typhoid. What happened is I was on a tour and I was by myself. I reached out in front of me and took a glass of juice while I was reading a book for breakfast, and the minute I tasted that juice, I just had a bad feeling. Well, almost the next thing I knew, about 48 hours later, I woke up in a small clinic. I looked over at the wall and I saw a big crack in the wall, then a spider walking down. Then I looked down further and I noticed that there was a rusty IV that was connected to my arm. Well, luckily I survived that, and a few months later, while I was on another teaching expedition to Ghana, I decided to go ahead and come back to Ethiopia and say thank you to the tour guide who had saved my life. We also have a few flies around here. The tour guide who saved my life said that what he'd like as a way of saying thank you is that I would help his sister who had obstetric fistula. I had never even heard of obstetric fistula, and I began researching it. As I found out, it's a condition that happens that specifically a few of the northern tribes and mid-tribes in Ethiopia practiced early marriage. And by early marriage, I mean that in the end, we helped some girls that were as young as 5 years old when they got married. What would happen to them is that because of the early marriage, also because of malnutrition and being smaller than you would expect, they would become pregnant in one of their early cycles. Then, as is our custom here, they would go out into the rural area to have their babies while they were the same way that their mother, their grandmother, their great-grandmother had done. And many times, because they were so small, the baby would get stuck in the birth canal and not be able to pass on through. This prolonged labor, small structure, often the baby would die, and it would cause a tear in the bladder and or the rectum, and the woman would leak urine and or feces for the rest of her life. When I found out about the problem, I was heartbroken, and I went back to Colorado Springs, my nice comfortable home over in St. Andrews, and I just couldn't sleep. Knowing that there were girls and women living like this, I knew I had to come back and help some more. So with a group of other women, we did a fundraiser on, I believe it was KRDO, and we raised about $5,000. I agreed that I would come back and help 5 more women. However, what I didn't realize is that the laws in Ethiopia are very strict about how things are done legally or not legally. So they let me know that I needed to form a legal 501c3 and I had to do things in another manner. It took me 18 months and 15 trips to get all the legal requirements fulfilled before we could help our first woman. I'm proud to say that during that time, we not only helped women with their surgeries, helped them with their shelter, but we also gave literacy training and entrepreneurship skills. In that period of time, we helped exactly 1,500 women. Now, I find it hard to imagine that the number could have been exactly 1,500 women, but I have gone over those records again and again and again. So I'm guessing we missed one here or there, or maybe we accidentally had a woman the second time, but it was as close to 1,500 as you can get.